I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with the cattle market summary for the week ending September the 1st, where we had a stormy week, and of course down in southeast Texas there, prayers continue to go out for all those that were affected and flooded out by Hurricane Harvey and the aftermath there. And a lot of cattle in that country, and a lot of those guys having a hard time trying to get those moved to higher ground when a lot of places there is no higher ground. But also stormy in the market there. We started out early with some positive feedback from the cattle on feed report that happened last Friday, a week ago. But it didn't last for long as we come in with more pressure on Tuesday. Your fat cattle trade seemed to be just conceded. Everybody just accepted the fact right off that we were going to continue to lose ground on fats, and they're likely to get down in the double digits here within maybe this week or the next. There's just nothing to hold them. But you look at your board for the week, live cattle October, which is a spot now because we've lost August, but Monday started out up $1.45 with help from your feeder cattle on cattle and feed report. Tuesday was down $2.27, Wednesday up just 2 cents, Thursday down 72, and Friday down a quarter to end the week at 105.15, which was $1.77 lower for the week. Feeder cattle October, like I said, with help from that cattle on feed report, which was bullish on the placements, Monday was up $3.45, but then Tuesday come back and took $2.87 off. Wednesday was up 60 cents, Thursday down 82, mostly because the grains were higher on Thursday. Friday was up a quarter with feeder cattle October contract ending the week at 143.55, up 60 cents for the week. And feeder cattle continue to trade in a narrow range for the next year, really just $3 or $4 there, from 139 to 143 and change, and that's kind of unusual to see that long a span with hardly any variation in your feeder cattle market for future value. Your live cattle futures for the April is the best. If you're looking down the road at something positive, it's a little over 114 for April, so we look forward to that. Your fats for the week, that's a problem. We didn't sell near enough going into a holiday week with a short and kill, and we need to sell up there in the 90s, around 100,000 a week in the 5-area feeding region through Thursday. And we didn't have hardly any Friday trade. Everybody had already left for the long weekend, and hardly anybody rustling about any trade at all. But through Thursday, 52,800 head is all. You look at the weighted average on live steers, 104.67, down a little over $2 on the weighted average compared to the previous week. Dressed steers, 165.65, down a little over $4. So just continue to lose market position there, and not sure where we're going to find any firm ground underneath it. Box beef cutout values kind of held their own this past week. On the average of last week's trade, choice cutouts 191.65, down 65 cents. But selects were at 190.50, up 71, and continue to narrow that spread between choice and select down to $1.15 on the average of last week's trade. And that just shows there's not a big push for the more expensive middle meat cuts there that hinge on the grading so much. The slaughter was a little bit disappointing, kind of had a poor Saturday because of the holiday weekend. But for last week, 622,000. That was down 17,000 from the previous week, and up just 9,000 from the same week a year ago. Look at your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central, based on an 800-pound steer, ended the week at 143 flat. That was up $1.03 for the week, and guys continue to have good demand. These yearlings are running out, and that's why people are trying to get those bought up, the ones that are left. Every week that goes by, every day that goes by, the receipts, especially in the auctions, progressively a larger percentage of calves. And so without that many true yearlings, a lot of those guys want to get those, they're going to have to feed big fat calves, which don't perform near as well as a yearling does in the feed yard. But cash feeders were $2 to $5 higher on your auction trends. That includes all classes, as your calves were better too, and the continued good pasture conditions and the good prospects for wheat grazing, early wheat grazing in the southern plains. That's driving your lightweight calves and even up into some middleweights. It's just guys have grass in their traps. They've got grass in the pastures they've already grazed off earlier this spring. They think they're going to have a lot of wheat grazing early, and they're just buying up a lot of those calves. And really that's probably better than what the yearling deal is, as the yearling deal was starting to fade off a little bit later in the week. Come in this week, we're not going to have any big high volume sales on Monday due to Labor Day holiday, so it'll be kind of hard to get a grip on the market. But here come the calves, and a lot of guys start thinking about calf sales in September and especially in October. But be a lot of calves to market. That's going to pull down on the market, because you get a lot of those bigger calves that got to go right into the feed yard. Some guys will buy them at a lower price, and it's going to pull back on your market for heavier weight cattle to feed. But look at some individual quotes late in the week. Lexington, Nebraska at 1:50 in the afternoon on Friday, and they're just up there in a whole nother stratosphere. There are 67 head of steers weighed 892, almost 900 pounds at 150, 250. Look at another individual quote, not to disparage it at all, but more of a market quote, kind of in the center of the 15 states there. And South Coffeyville, Oklahoma, had a couple loads of mixed steers, mixed colored steers, just Okie type cattle. 143 head of them, 2:30 Friday afternoon, weighed 734 at 143 1/4. And that's your week's markets from DV Auction. We'll talk to you next week.